This week, Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, was never the legendary sequel that Empire Strikes Back was, but that didn't stop fans from turning out in droves, making it the third mega hit in a row for the franchise. Think you know the whole story? Think again. I'm Rob at Cinematica, and we're here to give you the inside scoop on how George Lucas cost himself relationships, nearly ruined his health, and ran into a whole mess of editing room drama in delivering the third and final film in the original franchise. So sit back, grab some snacks, and join us in counting down the 107 facts you should know about Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, so you can watch smarter. Number 1. Securing a director for the film was no easy task. Steven Spielberg, a lifelong best friend of Lucas, was Lucas's first choice to direct. Unfortunately, Spielberg was forced to decline because he is a member of the Directors Guild. Lucas had to drop his guild membership over disagreements about The Empire Strikes Back. Number 2. The climactic battle in outer space set a record, featuring more optical effects in one scene than had ever been previously committed to film. Number 3. David Cronenberg, known for directing horror and science fiction, was also offered the chance to direct the film. He declined the offer in order to make the films Videodrome and The Dead Zone. Number 4. Alas, it was confirmed that Richard Marquand would direct the film. And choosing to hire Marquand to carry the legendary series, Lucas described Marquand as having made some great suspense films and was really good with actors. Number 5. To date, Marquand is the only Star Wars director from outside the United States, until Gareth Edwards' 2016 release, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Number 6. The screenplay was written by Lawrence Kasdan and George Lucas, with uncredited contributions by David Peoples. It was based on the story by Lucas. Number 7. The film was originally titled Revenge of the Jedi. Kasdan claims he told Lucas that it was a weak title, and Lucas later decided to name the film Return of the Jedi. The title Revenge of the Jedi was purposefully leaked early in production so that pirated merchandise could be easily spotted when the film was released. Number 8. Episode 6 was actually released on the same day as Episode 4, exactly 6 years apart. Number 9. The original teaser trailer for the film carried the name Revenge of the Jedi. By the time Lucas had decided that Revenge was not appropriate and returned to his original title, thousands of Revenge teaser posters had been printed and distributed. Lucasfilm stopped the shipping of the posters and sold the remaining stock of 6,800 posters to Star Wars fan club members for $9.50. Number 10. The screenplay itself was not finished until rather late in pre-production, well after a production schedule and budget had already been created. This is very unusual for a film and surely did nothing to help Lucas's stress. Number 11. Gary Kurtz, who produced Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, was replaced as producer for Return of the Jedi. Lucas fired his friend as Kurtz disagreed with Lucas's assertion that audiences didn't care for the story, but for the spectacle. Others have said that Kurtz quit on his own. Either way, Lucas's professional relationships were often far from drama-free. Number 12. As with the previous film, Lucas took the commonly known producer's risk of personally financing the film. By this go-around, I think it was safe to say that Lucas was pretty confident he would not regret his choice. Number 13. Return of the Jedi is set 1 year after The Empire Strikes Back. This was quite a bit closer than the time gap between the two previous films, which was 3 years. Number 14. And on to the good stuff. Casting. Ian McDiarmid almost didn't get to play the Emperor. Casting was deciding between McDiarmid, who was young and therefore could handle romping around and all that makeup for hours, and Alan Webb, who was authentically elderly. They actually chose Alan Webb, but Webb became ill soon afterwards, so McDiarmid got the part. Fortunately, McDiarmid was young enough to be able to play the role again in the prequels. Number 15. Ian McDiarmid was a trained, prolific stage actor. He utilizes these skills to do a bit more character work than newcomer actors were capable of. McDiarmid based his character's unusual voice on the Japanese method of using your stomach to project yourself. This resulted in a strange, guttural croak that Lucas decided was perfect for the character of Palpatine.
So be it, Jedi.
Number 16. Another almost no-go, Kenny Baker was originally cast as Wicket. Tough luck, as he was replaced by 11-year-old Warwick Davis after falling ill with food poisoning on the morning of the shoot. Davis, like some other cast members, had no previous acting experience and was cast only after his grandmother had discovered an open call for dwarves for the new Star Wars film. Number 17. There was an issue during pre-production on whether Harrison Ford would return for the final film. Unlike the other stars of the first film, Ford had not been contracted to do 2 sequels, and Raiders of the Lost Ark had made him an even bigger star in the meantime. Ford suggested that Han Solo be killed through self-sacrifice. Lucas was vehemently against it and rejected the concept. Despite his turmoil, Ford committed to traveling once again to a faraway galaxy, and the rest is history. Number 18. The beloved Yoda was originally not meant to appear in the film. It was director Marquand who strongly felt that returning to Dagobah was essential to resolve the dilemma raised by the previous film. Number 19. Lucas then decided to insert a scene in which Yoda confirms that Darth Vader is Luke's father. He did so as a result of having a discussion with a children's psychologist because he didn't want younger moviegoers to dismiss Vader's claim as a lie. Number 20. Acclaimed British actors Ben Kingsley and Alan Rickman auditioned for the role of Jar Jar. Number 21. Dennis Lawson, who played Wedge Antilles in Star Wars Episode 4 and Episode 5, reprised his role in this film. However, many rumors had circulated that this was not him in the third film. This false information was spread because his name was misspelt in the credits of Star Wars Episode 4. Number 22. Alec Guinness was hesitant to return for a third movie because he didn't like the idea of simply performing expository dialogue on green screen. Number 23. Robert Watts, a co-producer of the film, made an appearance as the Scout Walker driver who was thrown out of the Scout Walker by Chewbacca. This role was written for General Veers, who was played by Julian Glover in Star Wars Episode 5. Since he looks nothing like Glover, however, Watts is credited as Lieutenant Watts. Number 24. The movie we know and love today doesn't exactly match the entire plot found in all the drafts leading up to the film's final script. An early version of the film script featured Obi-Wan actually returning from the dead. Ultimately, in the film, he just appeared in spirit form. Lucas wanted to explore the idea that Obi-Wan's ghost was doing something important, given the line in the first movie about Obi-Wan returning more powerful than Vader could imagine. Number 26. The ending of the original treatment differed from the final film as well, finishing with Luke Skywalker walking off alone and exhausted like a hero in a spaghetti western. George Lucas instead chose a happier ending. A note to aspiring filmmakers, happy endings help sell merchandise. Number 27. On to production. Lucas was determined to stay on schedule and on budget this time, so he reportedly had cast and crew work 20-hour days in order to wrap by April 1st, 1983. Number 28. Lucas may have directed some of the second unit work personally, as the shooting threatened to go over schedule. This is a function Lucas had willingly performed on a previous occasion as well, when he had only officially been producing the film. Number 29. Ironically, although Marquand was hired because of his ability to work with actors, he didn't get along with the cast, so his assistant director had to step in and direct certain sequences on his behalf. He did not receive credit. Number 30. Speaking of which, Richard Marquand alienated several of the actors. Both Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill accused the director of treating them terribly while simultaneously fawning over Harrison Ford's performance. Number 31. Lucas himself later admitted to being on set frequently as well, due to Marquand's relative inexperience with special effects. Marquand did note that Lucas kept a conspicuous presence on set by joking, "It's rather like trying to direct King Lear with Shakespeare in the next room." Number 32. Lucas's on-set presence did not go unnoticed. Cinematographer Alan Hume became very angered over George Lucas's treatment of Richard Marquand. So much so that he informally stepped away from his duties, leaving camera operator Alec Mills to finish filming in the last month of production. Number 33. The movie was filmed under the title Blue Harvest, Horror Beyond Imagination, to avoid attracting crowds. The fake title was a play on Dashiell Hammett's 1929 novel Red Harvest, an influence on Akira Kurosawa's Yojimbo, which was cited as inspiration for Star Wars. Number 34. Afraid of plot elements being leaked to the media, fake scripts were distributed to cast members that were believed to be most probable in sharing such information. Some of these phony story elements were indeed leaked, such as Lando being revealed as the last hope for the Jedi mentioned by Obi-Wan and Yoda. Number 35. The film crew had problems avoiding the 35,000 dune buggy enthusiasts in Yuma, Arizona while filming Jabba's sail barge. To preserve secrecy, the producers had caps and t-shirts made up for the crew with the film's false title imprinted on them. For more security, a chain-link fence encompassed the area, and a 24-hour security service prevented die-hard fans from entering the set and sneaking photographs. Number 36. Other shoot locations brought more unique problems to the film. Peter Mayhew had to be careful in his Chewbacca costume while filming in British Columbia, worried that case hunters might mistake him for Bigfoot. Number 37. While attempting to film Luke Skywalker's battle with the Rancor beast, Lucas insisted on trying to create the scene in the same style as Toho's Godzilla films by using a stunt performer inside a suit. The production team tried several times, but were unable to create an adequate result. Lucas eventually relented and decided to film the Rancor as a high-speed puppet. Number 38. Instead of removing Vader's helmet to show the actor's face, Marquand originally wanted to reveal the deformed face of a famous British stage actor. but Lucas worried that this would distract people who wouldn't take it seriously. So Marquand cast Sebastian Shaw because he had an unremarkable face. David Prowse, who played Darth Vader's body in the 3 films, was unaware of the planned unmasking scene, and he was not too pleased when he found out. Number 39. David Prowse only portrayed Darth Vader completely for the first half of the movie. In the second half of the movie, Vader was played by stuntman Bob Anderson during the fight sequences, and Sebastian Shaw after the character is unmasked. Number 40. Bob Anderson played Darth Vader during the fight sequences, however he is much smaller than Prowse. To make up for the height difference, they made him wear platform shoes and filmed him from creative angles. Number 41. During the shot in which Salacious Crumb is chewing off C-3PO's eye, Anthony Daniels had a panic attack. While filming, he didn't actually say his lines, but repeated, get me up, over and over. His lines were dubbed in post-production, but this is the take used in the final film. Number 42. The primitive warrior tribe at the end of this film was originally supposed to be Wookiees. However, in pre-production, they decided to create short creatures with short fur, and hence, the Ewoks were created. Number 43. The Ewok costumes had their feet custom fitted for each actor portraying them. This was done so that they could walk and run in the suits. Number 44. Shoot days in the forest were especially hard on the Ewok actors. Production assistant Ian Bryce arrived on set one day to find a note from one of the actors saying that they were on their way to the airport. Bryce immediately got into a car and was about to head to the airport when the Ewoks bus pulled up and all the actors got off wearing Revenge of the Ewok t-shirts. Number 45. The film's official poster displays the disclaimer, "This film may be too intense for very young children." This disclaimer was mandated by the MPAA. Number 46. Lucas based the Ewoks' victory over the Galactic Empire on the Viet Cong guerrillas during the Vietnam War. Number 47. Several Ewok lines are spoken in the Filipino language Tagalog. Most Ewok lines, however, were inspired by the Kalmuk language, spoken by the people of the nomadic tribes living in central China. Number 48. Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, was released on May 25, 1983, and was the top domestic grossing movie of the year. Worldwide, it grossed over $572 million. Number 50. One of the words C-3PO uses to communicate with the Ewoks is Naboo, which is the name of Queen Amidala's planet in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Number 51. The word Ewok is never actually said out loud in the movie. Number 52. Ralph McQuarrie, concept artist, hated the Ewok concept. He walked away from the production before it finished. Number 53. Though he was mentioned in A New Hope, Jabba the Hutt made his first appearance in this film. Number 54. Jabba was voiced by Larry Ward. Ward also voiced Greedo in the first Star Wars film. Number 55. The Huttese language spoken by Jabba the Hutt was inspired by the Incan language, Quechua. Number 56. Sidney Greenstreet, the actor known for his roles in The Maltese Falcon and Casablanca, partially inspired the look of Jabba. Number 57. The Jabba the Hutt puppet took Stuart Freeborn creative designer's team 3 months to build. It cost $500,000 and weighed 2,000 pounds. Number 58. It took 6 people to work the full-size animatronic of Jabba the Hutt. Number 59. Among the aliens in Jabba the Hutt's entourage were Klaatu, Barada, and Nikto. These characters were named after the command given to the robot Gort in The Day the Earth Stood Still. The aliens are not referred to by name in the film, nor do they have any lines. Number 60. Carrie Fisher frequently complained about her costumes in the 2 previous films. Out of spite, the costume designers created the skimpy gold bikini she wore as Jabba's slave. This became something of a running joke among the crew because the metal framework that held the top together didn't move well and many, how should we say, wardrobe malfunctions occurred. Number 61. Leia's slave outfit was inspired by the artwork of artist Frank Frazetta. Number 62. Leia's bounty hunter disguise helmet has 1138 written on it, another reference to THX 1138, Lucas's very first feature film. Number 63. After Yoda's death, Luke addresses his Obi-Wan Kenobi as Obi-Wan rather than Ben for the first and only time in the film. Number 64. Mark Hamill was the only Star Wars actor to work the first full day of shooting on all 3 Star Wars movies. Number 65. Mark Hamill wanted a girlfriend for Luke, so he gave Lucas a coffee table science fiction book and asked him to choose Luke's girlfriend from it. Clearly, Lucas didn't fall for it, and Luke remained single. Number 66. Episode 6 is the only film in the original trilogy to have green lightsabers in addition to blue ones. Lucas had a very good reason for this. Number 67. Luke's lightsaber was originally going to be blue, just like it had been in the previous film. However, Lucas was worried it would confuse audiences, so he changed it to green to make it clearer that this was a different lightsaber. Number 68. At first, Emperor Palpatine was named after a character in Taxi Driver, Palatine, but his name was changed to avoid potential legal issues. Number 69. Endor is the name of a place in the Bible. It's also the Elvish name for Middle-earth in Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Number 70. Leia strangling Jabba was an homage to the death of Luca Brasi in The Godfather. Prior to his work on Star Wars, George Lucas worked as an assistant editor on The Godfather. Number 71. The post-production process offered its own drama in the form of what J.W. Rinsler, an author and editor for Lucas Licensing's book division, deemed Black Friday. This was the day Lucas threw out hundreds of completed VFX shots and forced the Industrial Light and Magic crew to go back to the drawing board on key sequences. J.W. Rinsler talks about it as a real low point in the post-production cycle. Number 72. Much to fans' delight, Return of the Jedi is the first of the Star Wars films to mention Boba Fett by name. Number 73. Craig Miller, head of fan relations at Lucasfilm from 1977 to 1980, used to collect the best fan theories and present them to the cast and crew. One of the most interesting theories suggested that Boba Fett was actually Luke Skywalker's mother, which wasn't officially quashed until 2002 when we learned that Boba Fett is a male clone. Number 74. The Death Star was originally supposed to have its first appearance in Episode 6. Lucas changed this after having been forced to introduce it earlier due to budget cuts imposed by the studio. Number 75. The dual stripes painted on Rebel A-Wing fighters were originally blue. They were changed to red because the blue made it a problem when filming blue screen effects. Number 76. Originally, the scene where Luke takes off Darth Vader's helmet was going to involve Luke putting on his father's mask and deeming himself the new Darth Vader. Many fans loved the idea, but George Lucas hated it since he thought of Star Wars as a film series meant for children. Number 77. The line, "I have a bad feeling about this," is used in all Star Wars films, and this film it is said by C-3PO and Han Solo. Number 78. Episode 6 was the first film to mention the TIE Fighter by name. This occurs when Lando issues the order to split up and get some of those TIE Fighters to follow. The TIE in TIE Fighter stands for Twin Ion Engine. Number 79. Return of the Jedi was the first film to use the THX sound system standard in theaters. THX was developed by Tomlinson Hallman of Lucasfilm in 1983 to ensure that the soundtrack for the film would be accurately reproduced in the best venues. THX was named after Hallman, with the X standing for crossover, as well as an homage to Lucas's first film, THX 1138. Number 80. This was the first time Anakin Skywalker's name is mentioned in the trilogy. His name comes from a friend of George Lucas, British film director Ken Anakin. Number 81. This is the only Star Wars movie where Darth Vader doesn't force choke someone. Guess good old Darth was able to get his anger issues under control. Somewhat. Number 82. At one point during the battle on Endor, Leia turns towards a scout walker and shoots a man. This man is rumored to be the film's director, Richard Marquand. Number 83. In the familiar theatrical poster advertising the film, forearms assumed to belong to Luke Skywalker are shown raising a lightsaber. However, the unidentified arms pictured are not those of actor Mark Hamill. They actually belong to George Lucas. Number 84. Nguyen Nunn, Lando's co-pilot, speaks a Kenyan dialect called Haya. These lines were delivered by Kipsang Rotich, a Kenyan student living in the U.S. Audiences in Kenya were reportedly very thrilled to hear their language spoken in proper context. Number 85. Anthony Daniels, who played C-3PO, broke his own record in this film. Unlike the last two films where it took him 2 hours to put on his C-3PO outfit, in this film, he managed to get the time down to less than 10 minutes to be costume ready. Number 86. When Luke is hiding in the shadows from Darth Vader, one half of his face is shadowed. This is done to represent the decision Luke has to make. One side is light, and on the other, dark. Number 87. A Wilhelm scream was used for the part when Weequay falls into the Sarlacc pit during the sail barge assault. Number 88. The Sarlacc had an animatronic tentacle, which the crew had built for $50,000. Richard Marquand had okayed the use of this contraption, but when Lucas showed up on set, he nixed it in favor of just wrapping some cloth around the guard's ankle, pulling it off, and then running the camera in reverse. Number 89. The Death Star 2 was approximately 460% larger than the first one. Physicists had calculated that while the Death Star design is theoretically possible, it would take too much money, time, and material to be feasible. Students at Lehigh University said it would cost $852 quadrillion, or roughly 13,000 times the world's GDP. Number 90. The iconic shot of Han Solo breaking out of the carbonite block was an interesting challenge for the movie's special effects team. The crew made a wax figure of Harrison Ford and shone a bright light behind it as part of the epic transformation. Number 91. Unlike the other Star Wars installments, Star Wars Episode 6 Return of the Jedi was shot and completed in less than 1 year. Number 92. The Emperor's chair was mechanized so that it could rotate when the scene called for it. However, the mechanism never worked properly, so Ian McDiarmid had to make it move by shuffling his feet. A piece of tape on the floor told him when to stop this so that it would not be visible to the camera. Number 93. The special effects crew claimed to have included a sneaker as one of the spaceships in a complex dogfight scene. If you've ever watched our other 107s, you'll know that this wasn't the first time. Number 94. Whilst clambering over Jabba the Hutt, one of the high heels that Carrie Fisher was wearing accidentally punctured the latex casing, injuring Mike Edmonds, who was operating the tail inside. Number 95. If you pay close attention to Billy D. Williams' hands during the Sarlacc fight, you'll notice something strange. During the shoot, his stunt double was wearing black gloves, but Williams was not. Number 96. Admiral Akbar's famous line, "It's a trap," was originally scripted as, "It's a trick." Due to a negative test screening, the line was changed in post-production. Number 97. When Ula, the dancing girl, is trying to get away from Jabba, her top briefly falls off. This is not as visible in the letterbox version, but is quite visible in the regular version. Number 98. Caroline Blackistan, who played Mon Mothma, had to re-record her dialogue after it was discovered that her microphone had picked up the sound of pigeons roosting in the ceiling. Number 99. Production was halted during severe sandstorms and the cast and crew were stuck in their trailers. Marquand is quoted as saying, "We devised a complete movie, which was, in fact, Blue Harvest." You'll remember from a couple of facts ago that this was the fake title they used to keep crowds away. Well, apparently, George Lucas was going to write a 5-page screenplay and Marquand would shoot it in a couple of days. They never did, though. Number 100. Vader actually uses Luke's lightsaber in Episode 6. Well, sort of. Before filming began, it was discovered that all of Darth Vader's lightsaber props had either been lost or stolen, so the crew was forced to create a new one out of Luke's spare lightsaber pieces. Number 101. When filming the scene where R2-D2 enters the chamber, it was discovered that the droid could not roll down the stairs. In the movie, we see R2-D2 approaching the stairs, then the camera moves to the left past the steps, and the droid re-enters the field of view, having been manually hauled down the stairs. Number 102. The sound of Jabba the Hutt's slithery moves was created by soundman Ben Burt running his hands through a cheese casserole. Number 103. The growls and sounds of the Rancor in Jabba's palace were actually created by a dachshund. Number 104. Darth Vader's footsteps were recorded in underground tunnels by the Golden Gate Bridge to create the ominous effect. Number 105. Ben Burt, the film's sound designer, tried to emulate Treg Brown's sound effect work on the Roadrunner cartoons as closely as possible when creating the sound effects for the speeder bike chase. Number 106. One of the most spectacular lighting effects on the Imperial Walker scenes was discovered when the team shut down the lights to head off for lunch. Number 107. In 2013, a petition to build a real Death Star was submitted to the White House. It received enough signatures to warrant a response. However, the petition was turned down because, and I quote, "Why would we spend countless taxpayer dollars on a Death Star with a fundamental flaw that can be exploited by a one-man starship?" Thanks for watching this episode of 107 Facts. Make sure to subscribe to Cinematica, where we help you watch smarter. And since it's that time of the season, we'll see you next week for 107 Facts about Elf.